So you're planning on buying AMD stock because you recently watched a video that explains that AMD is going to win dramatically in the AI inference space, or that AMD is going to be such a big player in this massive opportunity of inference. Before you plan on buying AMD, I definitely recommend watching this video. And this is not to kind of change your overall thoughts, but I think it's important to understand both the risk of AMD, more importantly, the AI chip market and the inference space. Now you might be wondering, Jose, you have talked bullish reasons for AMD in the past, and you say it's a great buying opportunity. This is true, and I do believe that's the case. But if you do watch those videos, I always say the following. AMD is not the next NVDA, and AMD's growth opportunities and valuation is beyond the AI chip space. While that could be a minor growth opportunity for the company, it's not the full story. And this is kind of to make sure that investors understand why I don't believe the AI chip market is the complete story. So let's take a closer look in today's episode. But before we go any further, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for a special offer at fool.com/Jose, and make sure to check out my free daily semiconductor newsletter, whatthechip.com. So let's get started.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so again, let me just remind investors, AMD is my number 2 position. I have no intentions of selling. I do believe that the AMD is sitting at great valuations from a risk to reward portfolio, right? They have growth opportunities in the PC space, in the CPU space, in the embedded market, in the enterprise market, in the client market. They also have a nice amount of opportunity to grow a few billions of dollars in the AI chip space. Now, I keep hearing reports that AMD is going to win dramatically because they are a better chip than NVIDIA and they are cheaper for AI inference. And this is going to be their ultimate driving force. But if that's the case, why has this money not really come in yet? And why is it going to change in 2025 or 2026? So I kind of want to share my overall thoughts on this market right now. So first, the big thing that many AMD bulls are saying for the company is that inference is the huge opportunity for AMD. AMD has the MI300 and the MI325, which tend to have a lot more memory capacity or HBM capacity than their overall NVIDIA counterparts. And because of this, they are really great for inference. And for those that are not familiar with inference is best thought of as the thinking process of AI. The moment you ask an LLM a question or for it to draw something or to make something, getting that response is mainly an inference workload. Other workloads are also happening, but the bulk of that workloads are usually the inference workloads. Now, the great kind of growth opportunity for this is things like O1 and O3, which is the increase of time of thinking, where O1, if you're using ChatGPT's O1 model, some of those responses might even take a few minutes before the response even starts writing. And that's because there's thinking happening, which is just more inference, and in theory drives a lot more demand for inference computational power. Now, inference is expected to be the biggest AI market as we continue to scale, right? And the perfect reason is the more consumers use AI solutions, the more inference power is needed, right? So right now, maybe only a selected amount of people know about OpenAI and ChatGPT. But what happens when the whole population knows about these use cases? When everybody starts using some form of AI model. Obviously, I don't think everyone will ever use AI models, but it's just a great way to understand that, hey, look, more thinking is going to be needed, or more inference compute power is going to be needed as more people use this solution. Now, a few things to note for inference, right? And this is very important if you believe this is the bullish case for AMD. Consumer products that include AI solutions will probably run inference locally, reducing computational cloud power needed. Remember that typical consumers won't use the most advanced or the largest large language model or frontier model. A small model might be more than sufficient for most. Because it is a small model, we are seeing the development of AI locally, where even smartphones right now are pushing a lot of these AI solutions to happen locally on your device, reducing that need in computational power on the cloud. A perfect example is Tesla, right? Tesla does all the inference for FSD with the car chips, right? With their FSD chip right there. So that's a perfect use case that even though more Tesla models might come out, or more Tesla drivers might come out, it won't necessarily correlate to a huge increase in inference power and computational power, because most of the inference, or almost all the inference, is done on the chips locally in the car. So that's very, very crucial. And I do believe as more consumer products start to release more AI solutions, that's going to continue to be the case. Now, remember that the biggest inference users right now are the top dogs that own or use the frontier models. Future consumer products will probably be based on these frontier models as well. So the inference load will continue to stay with these players, right? If you have ChatGPT, you're most likely using ChatGPT, and that's using inference power from Microsoft. Now, in the future, maybe some crazy app is going to be using either ChatGPT, either it's going to be Gemini, it's going to be Llama, it's going to be Anthropic, either used by Microsoft, Google, Meta, or Amazon in that order. So when that app needs inferencing, it's most likely going to come to those cloud providers, right? So as more models continues to win, the frontier players are going to continue to use those inference solutions. And I think that's very crucial, because as we're going to see from the next page, that obviously the MI300 has some great customers. They have Microsoft, who uses the MI300 for GPT inference. We have Meta that uses the MI300 for Llama inference. And we have Oracle that has one of the largest MI300 clusters. Now, you might think, hey, look, if more applications are built under Meta or more applications are built under ChatGPT, then that's going to increase the inference power needed. So they're going to increase their MI300 clusters, right? And they're going to increase the sizes of their MI300 size because they have more demand for inference. But I also want to say and be worried that there are other ways that you can do inference. I mean, Amazon currently is one of the cloud service providers that does not use the MI300X. And reports have said that the demand for the MI300 is not there. I would guess the true reason being is any inference that Amazon needs to do in any of type of the applications that they're using in LLM can be offloaded to work in the Trainium 2, which is now used for both training and inference. This is Amazon's ASIC solution for the AI space. And Anthropic workloads are now being pushed to Trainium 2. So if you're going to develop on Anthropic's Claude, you're most likely going to be using Trainium chips. Google, currently, they do not use the MI300X either, right? The two big players in the cloud server space do not use the MI300 because they have their own AI chips. Google has done amazing with its TPUs, and these AI chips do internal AI workloads. And if more applications tend to do or use Gemini as their API, they're going to probably increase the amount of TPU clusters that they have. So if inference is the only reason for the MI300, I think Amazon and Google are going to keep with their Trainium 2, with their Trainium chips and their TPUs. The main reason I would say Microsoft and Meta are not using their own ASIC chips is because their ASIC chips have failed or are not good enough right now. As soon as those AI chips become stronger and better, I believe those big tech players are going to shift away from the MI300 and shift to their own ASIC solutions. Now, I think these are some of the bad scenarios that could happen. The first one is, I already mentioned, right, that Meta and Microsoft can continue to develop ASIC solutions for inference, reducing the dependency of the MI300 400 lines, right? The second thing is AMD is known as the cheaper alternative to NVIDIA, right? But what happens when prices of prior NVIDIA platforms start to decrease dramatically? Will people prefer to go with NVIDIA, who has a huge ecosystem that you can do more than inference, or you go with AMD's MI300? Personally, let's say if the prices of the Hopper start to go down dramatically, like we're seeing right now, I, as a cloud provider or whoever, I would rather buy NVIDIA chip opposed to an AMD chip, because I know I can use it for a lot of other use cases because they're optimized for training Their software stack is a whole different level. The infrastructure solution is a whole different level, right? So, and I know the future innovation and future updates are going to happen a lot faster on NVIDIA's platform than AMD's platform. I mean, if you ask most gamers right now who kind of makes updates faster than the other, you're going to see that NVIDIA, in forms of game up drivers, updates a lot faster. And that's probably the best way to kind of also see it in the data center market. Now, my prediction, while this might have seemed like a bearish case for an AMD and a reason not to buy AMD, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. I just want to make sure that expectations are realistic for AMD. And for me, I've mentioned it in all my bullish videos for AMD that AMD is not the next NVIDIA. And that while AMD definitely has that strength of AI inference, there are other ways that big tech players can spend their money and not use AMD's solution. Now, my predictions is AMD will grow in AI accelerator revenue in 2025 versus 2024. But I do believe it's not going to be as high as many AMD bulls are projecting. Even though that's the case, I still believe AMD in valuations right now is sitting pretty attractive. And obviously, this happening can kind of cause more volatility. In the long term, I still believe AMD is going to be a market beater. I also think analysts are right about lowering their AI accelerator revenue expectations for 2025. Usually, it was expected for AMD to do about $12 billion in 2025 in AI chips. I don't think that's going to be the case, but even if AMD grows only a few billions in 2025, somewhere between 8 to 9 billion versus 2024's 5 billion, it will still be great for the AMD business. So AMD is not a company that one should buy if your only bullish thesis is, hey, look, this is the next NVIDIA. This is going to dominate in the inference space. I think anybody that might be saying that might not truly understand where we're at right now in the overall market and might be kind of lagging a little bit in the thoughts of what competitors can do in this market. So again, I am bullish in AMD, but the MI300 growth, the AI inference growth, is not necessarily the top on my list. It's definitely an opportunity to grow. Like I mentioned, even if they grow to 8 to 9 billion in 2025, that would be strong for the overall business, where the company can continue to make more money, continue to make higher earnings per share, continue to do well for investors. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I feel like this is funny because normally when I do an AMD episode, I tend to get the NVIDIA bulls mad. Now I feel like in this episode, I'm going to get both the NVIDIA bulls and the AMD bulls mad. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Take care. Have a good day and see you next time.